I've been a cosplayer for almost 10 years. This is what I wish I knew before starting this hobby. As I started cosplay, I was really excited, but there are a lot of things that caught me off guard that I wish I knew before I even started this hobby. I hope those who are watching who are thinking of starting cosplay will find this video really helpful. So right off the bat, the first thing I wish I knew before starting cosplay is expensive. And yes, I said it right, cosplay is very expensive. Before I started cosplay, I was aware that it was gonna be a bit expensive for me, but I did not know it was gonna be this expensive. To start off, the wigs are really expensive, especially if you want high quality wigs. If you go to sites like Arda Wigs and Epic Cosplay, you'll find that the prices range from at least $30 to $60 and more. And it can really be a huge toll on people like me who are really detail oriented and really want to look like the character. If you're trying to make your cosplay, then you have to buy a lot of fabric, and fabric tends to be really expensive as well. And from my experience, the most expensive fabric I've been using is fur fabric. Basically the fabric that is used in fursuits or anything that's furry. I remember having to pay around like $20 to even $30 at least if I want a little bit of fur fabric. And I'm not talking about wanting to buy a lot of fabric, I mean like just a little bit of fabric, just enough to make a tail at least. If you need shoes for your cosplay, that's another $25 to $30 at least, unless you're lucky enough to go to a thrift store and find the shoes you're looking for at a lower price. Heck, while I do not wear contacts, I've heard that they can be really expensive as well. Not to mention buying all the makeup you need for your cosplays. If the prices of cosplay is not enough to get you, then the prices of attending these cons to wear these cosplays will. Nowadays, multi-day cons tend to cost at least $50 or more. Often, for the most part, it's more than that. If you're gonna stay at a hotel nearby, then that's another hundreds of bucks per night, and you'll be rooming with other people, just to cut the cost down. Not to mention the price you have to pay if you want to get food, because chances are, the con is gonna be in the middle of the downtown area, and from my experience, going out to eat in downtown areas are really expensive, plus there isn't much cheaper alternatives such as In-N-Out Burger or Subway. And going out to eat is gonna be inevitable if you're gonna be attending a multi-day con, unless you don't mind living off of Pocky and granola bars, or if you manage to pack enough food that you don't need to heat up in the microwave. I remember people comparing cosplay to a quote-unquote geeky wedding dress, and I agree with that comparison, because wedding dresses are expensive and often they're used for one occasion, unless of course you're like me who reuses them all the time. While I don't have much advice in terms of how to cut down the costs of rooming at cons or eating at cons, I do have some advice in terms of how to cut down the cost of cosplay. So first thing is first, I would definitely save a lot of scrap fabric. That's what I tend to do. It might be a bit messy, but you'll thank me later, because I have used scrap fabric for some of my cosplays. For example, my bandit from Bluey cosplay, which the details on my bandit sweater were actually made out of fabric from t-shirts, including one t-shirt that I do not wear anymore because it's stained. I just so happened to pattern the details on it, and I pinned the pattern onto the t-shirt, and then I cut the fabric off the t-shirt. So you managed to afford your cosplay? Surely that means you're out of the woods in terms of your struggles. No, that's not the case. Because chances are, you're probably gonna get uncomfortable. And that brings me to the next point. Cosplay is uncomfortable. Like cosplay being expensive, I was sort of aware of cosplay being a bit uncomfortable as well, hearing stories from cosplayers online about how uncomfortable they are in their costumes. But I did not know it could be this uncomfortable. And yes, I am saying that cosplay is not the most ergonomically friendly hobby out there. Thankfully, it depends. But from my experience, most of my cosplays brought some sort of discomfort to me. Just wearing a wig to match my cosplay itself is a bit uncomfortable for me. Just a small strand of hair is enough to poke my eyes, make my eyes water, and alter my makeup that I worked hard on the morning before the con. And this is very common considering a lot of fictional characters have bangs. And I tend to cosplay Snufkin a lot in my videos because he tends to be more on the comfortable side in terms of cosplays, in addition to me loving the movements. Because thankfully, the bangs do not really touch my eyes that much. And for some of my cosplays, I wear face paint, and depending on the brand and what type of face paint I'm using, it can be a bit uncomfortable. For example, in some of my cosplays, I wear Maron White face paint, and while it looks really flawless, the thing is, it can feel like I'm wearing a mask sometimes. And also I have to hold my tears a lot, because if I cried, then obviously that's going to alter my makeup a lot, and I have to do a lot of touch-ups in the middle of the con. I've also wear wings from one of my cosplays, which is Husk from Hazbin Hotel, and that can even get a bit uncomfortable, because one, I have to watch where I'm going and not hit random people, because not only people can get hurt, it could also damage my cosplay a bit. Have I forgot to mention that I cannot sit down properly while wearing wings? For the most part, I can only stand on my knees. I can't sit on the chair, I have to take the wings off. My advice is, please prioritize your comfort if you feel that part of your cosplay can make you uncomfortable. If you rather sacrifice your comfort, then feel free to do so. Just don't feel pressure to sacrifice your comfort for the sake of accuracy. Do whatever you do to feel comfortable and have fun with cosplaying. Now this next thing I wish I knew before cosplaying really caught me off guard. Like I wasn't really expecting it that much. And that is, cosplay is trendy. Now, what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is that cosplayers tend to cosplay whatever anime or media franchise is currently trending right now. The same way radio stations play songs that are currently high on the Billboard Hot 100. For example, when I started cosplaying, the series I saw a lot of people cosplay as were Attack on Titan and Gravity Falls. That was because those series were very popular around that time. Nowadays, I do not see as much cosplayers of those series. The year after that, the most commonly cosplayed series I saw was Undertale. The year after that was Overwatch. Here's why I feel it is currently popular right now in the cosplay community. Now, there are series such as Dragon Ball, Naruto, and Sailor Moon that are always going to have cosplayers at every con no matter what year it is because they have longevity. But from my experience, most series lack that longevity of popularity. It's not that they're forgotten, it's just that people do not cosplay from some of these series as much as they used to. If you're curious as to know what series used to be cosplayed more, I recommend going to this website called American Cosplay Experience/Paradise. There you'll find photo galleries of cons that have occurred in the past, and you can get a great idea of what series have been cosplaying a lot back then. From my experience, there are both pros and cons of this aspect of the community. A pro is that it'll keep you in track in terms of what anime is currently popular. If you take an interest in that anime and cosplay from it, you will definitely not find a shortage of people cosplaying from it, you might even make friends. However, there's a major downside to this. The more cosplay the series is, the bigger the cosplay meetups will be at cons. Just look at how big one of the Hellverse meetups I attended were. And worse, the more cliques will form. Danganronpa fandom at its peak, I'm looking at you. And from my experience, it can get a bit competitive. Because con-goers will be looking out for who has the most standout cosplay within the sea of cosplayers of the same series. Or if there are group cosplays or not. And unfortunately, many cosplayers get into this competition for attention. But what if you decide to cosplay a less popular series, which I encourage if you love that series? Then here's what happens. If you go to cons alone, you'll have a harder time meeting people, let alone cosplayers of the same series. And you'll not even get a chance to talk about your favorite series. But at the end of the day, we should strive to cosplay what we love and not solely what's popular. Which is why I'm not a huge fan of the cosplay community being overly trend driven. Now, what's currently popular is not the only indicator of what's going to be cosplayed a lot at cons. There's another factor I recently realized, and that is, where the celebrities go, the cosplayers go. From my experience, the main attraction of many cons nowadays seem to be the celebrities. You know, the chance to wait in long lines to just meet your celebrities or attend panels to ask questions to your celebrities. And whenever these celebrities go to these cons, the cosplayers of the series the celebrities were in also went to these cons. For example, at SAC Anime last year, one of the celebrity guests of the con was Tom Kenny, you know, the voice of SpongeBob and Ice King. And while I was at the con, there was a lot of SpongeBob cosplayers, which weren't really common at cons prior to that. I even saw an Ice King cosplayer, which I rarely saw at cons, because at the end of the day, it was 2024, and not the early 2010s. So why is this? Not only do cosplayers want to meet their favorite celebrities, they also want to see how the celebrities react to their cosplays. This behavior is common in sports fandom as well. If you want to get cool photos of your cosplays, my advice is, you're not always going to get the best photos at cons. Again, it all depends on the venue. Some cons I went to had great places to get photos, other cons, not so much. But many of the great photos I saw of cosplayers at these conventions weren't taken exactly at the con venues. A lot of them are blocks away from the con. For example, at one of the conventions I attend called Fanime, there's only like one area where cosplayers congregate to get photos that's technically part of the con venue, but there's this really cool exhibit at night that lights up called the Sonic Runway, and many cosplayers go there to get their photos. However, it's a bit of a 12-minute walk from the convention. But I will highlight some cons I've been to that have really good photo locations. First one is definitely SoccerCon in Seattle. It's a really nice con venue. There's this outside area at the con where it's really spacious and green and just many great places to get photos at. Another con I went to where I got really good photos at was Colossal Con. Arguably one of my favorite cosplay photos, this Felix the Cat one, was taken in the arcade at Colossal Con. And the Kalahari arcade itself is a mecca for cosplayers to get their photo shoots. There are also events such as the Cherry Blossom Festivals around the US, where you get great photos of the sakura trees in the background. And many of these events are free. And there's also those free cosplay meetups that are advertised on Facebook that take place at parks, and those places tend to be better places to get cosplay photos from my experience. Last but not least, this is something I discovered later, because throughout the years, cosplay community has changed a lot, and with those changes came the changes in the environment and the ambience of cons. But this has slowly became an issue while I was cosplaying throughout the years. And that brings me to my next point. Don't expect much live-action roleplay. Now, there's plenty of live-action roleplay if you go to masquerades or panels, but you're not really going to find regular live-action roleplay in general. When I started cosplaying, I felt there was a bit more live-action roleplay. I still see some live-action roleplay from time to time, especially considering it's really fun and it really helps you get into character, and it can also be really good acting practice. But then again, I feel it's been declined a lot throughout these years, and I have a few theories why. First theory is just the idea that people are just a bit uncomfortable and how cosplay is not consent and all that. Unfortunately, with some live-action roleplay, some people end up being dragged into things they don't want to be dragged into. That can just be a really big problem, especially if they're not asked to participate beforehand. That tend to discourage a bit of live-action roleplay throughout the years. And another theory I have is just how cons have gotten more crowded and more stressful. With the cosplay community constantly growing, unfortunately, many cons will get really crowded as there will be more attendees. And with more crowds, there's less space to do things. It's also more stressful, because many of us are too busy or too tired of things like live-action roleplay. That just goes to show how the mainstream anime and the cosplay just somewhat changed the community a lot. I could probably make another video regarding how cosplay has changed a lot for me throughout the years, as I've been doing this for almost 10 years. And plus, the community was a really different place when I started in 2015 compared to right now. But my hope for the cosplay community is that cosplay will not lose the play in cosplay, and thus losing the fun out of cosplay in general. Because many of us decide to cosplay just for the sake of having fun, and I feel it should continue that way. And that concludes this video. If you found this video helpful in terms of you starting your own cosplay journey, feel free to give me a like and comment below. If there is information you feel I've missed out on, please let me know in the comments below, because your input is just as important as my input. And with that, see you in the next video!